Hey guys, today we're going to be installing our 07.5 to 13 Sierra headlights. We've got a 09 in here, and let's go over the lights and see what we got. We have a comparison here between stock and ours. So let's take a closer look and see what we're going to do. As you can see here, this is the stock light, and a lot of times this one's actually in pretty decent condition, but a lot of times the lens is all yellowed and everything. So you have your parking and turn signals here, your low beam, your high beam, and your reflectors. So if you take a look at ours, we have the same thing. So we have your parking and turn, we have your reflectors here, we've added a projector for the low beam, and then this is your high beam, and then also we have our U-bar styling. So if you turn it on the side right here, you'll see we also have 6 LED running lights. And then on the back, this is a very simple and easy installation, as there's no wiring. You just have this one connector here. If you ever need to service your bulbs, so you have your parking turn signals here. These just twist out just like stock connectors would. And then you have your low beam and your high beam. Again, these just unplug here from your harness, and then you can pull the boot off just like this and access the light bulb. There's a keeper in here that you just push to the side, and you can pull the light bulb right out. So on this one, the high beam is an H1 bulb, and the low beam is an H3. So you just, anytime you get these off, you want to make sure you seat them back down. Just go all along the perimeter like this. Make sure that they push in really good. Because if you don't, you'll get moisture, you'll get dirt, you'll get all kinds of other stuff in there going on. So let's get started on installing these, but first we're going to take a look at what tools we're going to need. The tools that you'll need are a 3/8 ratchet, an extension, a 10mm, a 1/4" drive ratchet, 7/32 socket, a 7mm socket, a panel remover, and a pair of pliers. Okay, so in order to remove your headlights, obviously, you're going to need to start by opening your hood. And we're going to need to remove this protective cover. So we have 8 push tabs that we can use the flat end on our panel popper here to remove those. So let's do that by, you just take this like this, pull the center up, and then get underneath it and pull this directly out. So again, we have 8 of these, and we're going to remove this top panel. Okay, so once we've removed all the 8 push tabs from this, we're just going to pick this up, set this off to the side. Make sure that you don't lose any of your push tabs, because you do need them for reinstallation. If you lose any of them, you can get them from your local auto parts store or even the dealership. After you remove your top panel, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to remove the 4 10mm bolts located along here on for the top of the grill. So that way we can pull it forward and be able to remove the headlights without any problems. So take our 10mm. Go ahead and set these bolts off to the side and show you how to pull this forward. Okay, so we've got these top 4 bolts pulled out of here, and you can feel that it's a little loose, but it's not going to just pop forward once you pull these off. It is connected to the front part of the bumper trim here on the inside, but all we're going to do is we are going to move it forward just a little bit. That way we can access the headlights and we don't have to disassemble everything. So with your pliers, there's a couple metal push tabs in here. Sometimes they can be a little hard to get to, but if you use a pair of pliers and pinch down the center, you can pull this top part and it'll just free itself from the core support. This is the metal push tab. Here, I'll push it back in. See how it's clicked in? You use your pliers and push down right here on the center, and it'll pop out. Okay, so after we've released these 2 center ones, you can see now that the grill is free. The next step is going to be to remove the top two 10mm bolts here on the headlights. So make sure you don't lose these. Okay, so we'll just set these both off to the side. And we have two more side bolts to just release this front trim here to be able to pull the headlight out. Okay, so to remove this trim here from the top of the bumper so we can get the headlight out, you have two bolts here. You have your 7/32 and your 7mm. So just go ahead and pull those out. These are very tiny screws. So what you want to do is you want to make sure to set these off to the side and not lose these. Okay, so now that we've pulled these two screws out, all we have to do is grab right here and just gently pull outwards. It'll release from the body all along here and then also from underneath the headlight. So once you get that all pulled apart, now this headlight's loose. The stock tab that bolts in on the side is broken, but if you take a look right in here, that's where there's gonna be a 10mm bolt that you'll need to pull out. Okay, so now we've got your bumper trim released from the bottom of the headlight and the body panel. The headlight's loose. Right here is your hood pop cable. Just make sure that you can kind of move this out of the way a little bit, but after, when you go to reinstall it, make sure that you put it back in the same position. So all we're gonna do is just slide these out now. And you can see back here, we have one connector. We're just gonna push down on this tab here and slide out. So we have our new headlight here, and we have our main connector. All that's gonna do is you just line the push tabs up, push in until it clicks. Now we do provide a new tang on here, and you can slide that right back on like that as if it was OEM. Next, you wanna line up your two locators on the body. Sometimes you might have to move this out a little bit more. Make sure your cable's back the way it should be, and we are good to go. So now what we can do is we can start putting everything back together. So down here, we'll put the 10mm bolt back in. So that's in there, and then we can move to the top. So the last thing to bolt these headlights in is going to be to do your two top 10mm bolts. So you just want to get them started. If they tighten up on you, you may have crossed the threads. It's usually a good idea to hand start them. That way you're not crossing threads. So now once you've got the headlight all bolted in, what we're gonna do is, if you look at the bottom of our headlight, we do have the two locator tabs for the bumper trim. So we need to pull this out just a bit, and we're gonna slide the stock tabs on this bumper. We're gonna slide them up in there. They will lock in, and then you just follow this all the way around, just like this. It'll all snap right back in. We can replace our two bolts here. That'll keep this edge in. We can pop the grill back in, and you'll hear it snap back into those two metal push pins. And then we will replace all of our bolts and put our top panel back on. So we're gonna do that right now. And then I'll show you how to adjust your headlights. And then we'll check out everything, how they look. Okay, so the truck's all back together. Fitment's pretty good, you can see. There's a little bit of tolerance on these older bodies that, there's some gaps and stuff. There's about an 1/8 inch tolerance between models. So In some cases, you can have a little bit more of a gap than others. What you want to do in that case is you want to look, before you replace these, look at your stock ones. See how much of a gap there is. That way, when you replace the headlights, you can go off of how much the gap there was from stock to how much of a gap there is now. There are some adjustments, typically in here on this top bolt, you have some spacers that go in there if your vehicle still has them. Some vehicles don't. In that case, you can use a small washer to kind of take up the room, and it'll angle it a little bit. And that just goes on this top bolt in here. But right now what I want to show you is after you've got these installed, you're gonna need to adjust them. We try and get them as close as possible, but obviously this is a lowered vehicle. Some of you guys have lifted trucks, some of you guys have stock trucks. So what you want to do is with a Phillips head screwdriver, there is, right here on the top of the light, just like stock, there's your adjustment. And this is for your low beam. So what you want to do is you want to park your vehicle facing a wall 20 feet in length from the front of the headlight to the wall. Your beam should be right around 2.5 feet to 3 feet up on the wall. So you'll notice a cutoff, it looks like a step. And you want that right around that, in between that 2.5 and 3 foot range. And what you do, very easy, you turn it left and right, and you can watch the beams go up and down. If you try and raise them too high, what you're going to do is you're going to be pointing them in the sky, and you're not going to be able to see anything on the road. Same thing if you point them too low. So you play with it and see what you feel comfortable with, but the range is 20 feet, 2.5 to 3 feet up on a wall for city driving.